Storm Lake is a small town located in northwestern Iowa, and since 2001, a project has been underway to not only improve the health of the lake in the town, but also the community of Storm Lake as well.
It started in 2002, and the state had a project here which they removed roughly 1.3 million cubic yards of material out of the lake, and it went to the south side of the lake.
Originally, the dredging was done because Storm Lake is what we call a walleye brood lake. We harvest eggs from the female walleye in the spring and raise walleye fry and use that to restock the rest of the lakes in the state. Storm Lake is one of 4 lakes that do that. And so one of the early emphasis on the project was deepening the lake and making sure we didn't have winter fish kills to protect that walleye brood stock. And now that's still a very important part of it, but we're also looking at ecotourism and the recreational benefit and the economic benefit that better water quality has brought to the area.
It's not only the dredging project that is playing a role to improve the lake's health. There is another project happening with the town's Little Storm Lake that also plays a crucial role, a role everyone may not be aware of.
And Little Storm previously in history was like the lake. It was deep. It provided habitat for a fishery. Through the years, it has served as a sediment basin, which means it collected sediment, and so now it's very shallow. And so while it had served its purpose for a number of years, it's basically filled in. So we looked at what we could do to try and get some of that filtering and cleansing effect again, using Little Storm.
The siltation issue that was coming into the lake was coming from north of the lake. And so Powell Creek is surrounded by agriculture. There are some nice NRCS projects. There's a nice marsh called Jay's Marsh that's north of Little Storm Lake. That a lot of that, the idea is where you have open ag land, that sediment as it rains will wash, topographically speaking, downhill, and as it washes downhill it would wash into the Powell Creek or Little Storm Lake and eventually work its way into Storm Lake. So the Little Storm Lake project is a tremendous remediation for anything like that coming in from upstream.
We came in and we put in about 4,000 feet of dike, basically to isolate the little lake. We put in a serpentine channel on the creek, and what that allowed us to do was that allows the water to slow down and some of that sediment to settle out before it reaches the basin. We also installed a pump and a dewatering area that pumps up to a basin here that will settle. So what that allows us to do is, under low flow conditions, water can come through the serpentine channel. It slows it down enough so the heavy particles and a lot of the sediment settle out, and it goes through the Little Storm Lake Basin. We've had the Little Storm Lake Basin completely dry, which has allowed it to consolidate. It also has allowed us to get vegetation there. And so that vegetation that's out there will take up the nutrients. And so then the water will flow normally through the structure here. When we're in normal flow conditions, the pump doesn't run, but it's a gravity flow, and then it goes into the outlet into the big lake. Under high flow conditions, water will just flow continually. This whole area becomes water. We've got 2 emergency spillways that will take water, and we've seen water over the top of the dike, over the spillways. This is providing us a way to get better water quality entering the big lake. And if we can do that, then we don't have to do as much work in the big lake. So watershed work, best management practices in the watershed, try and keep sediment nutrients there, capture them in little storm if we don't keep them there, and then have much better water quality going into the big lake. I won't say that we've plateaued, but we've certainly slowed down. Our benefit is not near as great as it was initially. And I don't know that we've got a good measure because there's so many factors that come into play. So I don't know that I can say, initially we made a 20% improvement, now we're down to, a much smaller number, because there's so many factors that come into play that I don't have a good way to quantify that number. I will tell you that we're looking at a couple different alternatives. So we've contracted with FIRA. They're an engineering company out of Omaha that does lake restoration nationwide. And they provided 4 different alternatives for us to look at. So they're looking at building this breakwater and then doing alum treatments.
The project that FIRA is going to be working on for several years is, they'll apply this and then continue to do ongoing assessments, is flocculation with alum. And so what that does, basically you apply alum, it bonds to the sediment and drops it to the base of the substrate of the lake. So that will, what the city is hoping and what FIRA is indicating, it will help with clarity of the lake itself.
They're looking at doing that in a small isolated area that we can control that and be able to do good measurable results of that. And then if it's successful there, doing a lake-wide alum treatment and look to see how that would be effective. There's some challenges to that, and each lake responds differently, which is why the first step would be to do a breakwater and then do this testing in a small section of the lake.
And it's not just the lake seeing benefits from the dredging project. The entire community of Storm Lake is also helped in many ways.
We've seen a tremendous increase in recreational use, in fishing use, in swimming, and it brings people into the community. So our tourism dollars have increased tremendously.
Over here to my left is Kings Point, and that's about a $40 million project. It's a 100-room lodge, indoor-outdoor water park. Had we not been dredging and making this a better facility for people, as far as the lake is concerned, we probably would not have been able to put that piece together as well, which has been a big boost to economic development for Storm Lake.
People, even if they're not using the lake itself, use the bike paths, like to just come in and be around a lake that's got good clarity and good water quality.
I would say that every citizen in Storm Lake and the people that live around the lake have a vested interest in it. The name of the town is Storm Lake. The lake is called Storm Lake, and we're extremely proud of that heritage. It's a heck of a natural resource. It's a natural lake.
They're a real treasure. Storm Lake's a natural lake, and we need to do everything we can to protect it so it's available for future generations. To have the opportunity to swim and fish and recreate and just understand the importance of it to our entire landscape. It's very important that we take the efforts and the means we have to protect it.
The realization and the connection that we have with this lake is very real. It's very real because if we even just like to walk down by the lake at night or in the morning, or if we like to canoe or kayak on the lake, or just leisure activities with our families on the lake. Those are very important. It's a very holistic approach to our lake system. So if we care about something, we want to take care of it. If we're not even aware of what's going on in our own backyard, we're not going to care about taking care of it. So I think it's really important for everybody from young kids up to adults just to be aware of this very precious resource that we have in our own backyard here. And to realize we look at it as an isolated system, but in reality we're connected all over the world. Our water flows eventually from Raccoon River to the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. Theoretically speaking, that water molecule could go anywhere around the world. It can evaporate and then end up someplace else. So we are intimately connected, and water is a way to understand that intimate connection globally, and also the fact that we have so many impaired freshwater systems. We can't survive without water.